Go ahead.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala sayyidil mursaleen wa ala ahlihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Zahira Adrianto and I'm from Canton, Michigan.
My name is Rania Aziza and I'm from Dallas, and we will be hosting today's event with our four panelists, Faisal, Viruni, Adiba, and Pierre.
IMSA Youth College and Beyond event is designed to highlight different young professionals in our community and hopefully share beneficial advice or insight for youth looking forward to college or work life.
We're grateful to everyone who decided to join us, whether you're joining in as somebody watching or you're one of our lovely four panelists. And thank you to the IMSA Youth team for their part in playing and organizing this event. And now, without further ado, let's begin. If the four panelists wouldn't mind giving a brief introduction of themselves while we share a slide that they can use so we can give them a little bit more insight about their journey, how they got to where they are, and just introduce the event. So, Hanan. Right, looks like we'll be starting with Adiva, if you wouldn't mind unmuting and giving yourself a brief introduction. I think you're first.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I'm Adiva, and I was born and raised about a little bit outside of Boston, and I went to school at the University of Pennsylvania, where I graduated in May 2024 and studied bioengineering, and now I'm a technical product manager at a health tech startup.
Okay.
So I can talk a little bit about my experience getting to where I am now. If I go way back to when I was in high school, I actually didn't really know what I wanted to do in college, but I knew I liked to build. So I applied as bioengineering to a lot of schools, and then I tried my hand at a lot of different things during my time there. I did things like research in wet lab for biomechanics, as well as cellular development, and did that for 2 years and realized it wasn't really my thing, and that I really enjoyed building hardware products and seeing and improving patient experience, whether that was through digital work or through medical devices. I spent a lot of my senior year doing a medical device accessory for my senior design project, and I got to present it at the Design of Medical Devices conference in Minnesota. And then I applied to a lot of jobs throughout my entire senior year, and I finally got my job as a product manager, and I really enjoy it as it kind of goes between the technical engineering side, and I get to talk to a lot of the people using our product and work with the commercial team. So it's a lot of intersection of what I enjoy doing.
All right, that sounds really cool. That's really amazing that you were able to figure out what you wanted to do. So next up, we have Faisal.
Hello, my name is Faisal Arshad, and I'm from Wichita, Kansas. And my career has been as a settlement analyst and tax analyst, currently tax analyst. So I've been working the last 2 years, and I just graduated, alhamdulillah, from Wichita State University. And I'm currently working at Coke Industries. They are currently like the second largest private company in the world. And some fun fact about me is that, alhamdulillah, me and a couple of friends, we started a professional soccer club in the United States. And we compete in like the fourth division of US soccer. And yeah. So, so I would say that I had a really different journey to where I'm at today. I'll say when I came out of high school, I wanted to pursue soccer as what I wanted to do. Like I want to go to college to play soccer, try to get a scholarship, and inshallah go pro. Like everyone try to. That's the journey. But yeah, so I graduated high school. I went to Johnson County Community College, that's located in Kansas City. I played college soccer there for 2 years. Alhamdulillah, I graduated from Johnson County with an associate degree in accounting. But at the time when I was playing in Johnson County, I got recruited from some teams in Indonesia to play pro soccer or try out with them. Had an agent, and everything. So I had a really different college career. And when I went to Indonesia to play soccer, I realized that um, this was not for me. I feel like there was a better decision going back home. I had to pick between a pro soccer contract or my green card in America. So I was weighing my options out. I was like, okay, would I either go back to school or not, or play my sport? And I decided to go back to school. So in 2023, I decided to return to school to pursue my degree in finance and accounting. And during that role, when I came back, I 100% went on school, and I, alhamdulillah, landed a role at Coke Industries as a settlement analyst, and this was a co-op role. So as a co-op role, it's like I do work plus school, and they were testing me, and alhamdulillah, they offered me an internship last summer, and I did the internship, and they're impressed, and they wanted to keep me, and I started a co-op role again, and then now another internship for this summer with Coke Industries, and I started as a tax analyst. And right now I'm also doing a lot of side quests, like I would say, still trying to figure out like what I want to do with my life, and I take a lot of risk, and I feel like, yeah, starting like the soccer club with a couple friends, and and like I'm starting off photography and like videography business hopefully soon, and I'm just trying to see what I want to do the rest of my life. So yeah.
Inshallah, your journey is very, very impressive. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Moving on to our next speaker, Biruni.
Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Biruni. I am from Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm currently a rising junior at Yale University, studying applied math and global affairs. This summer, I'm interning at the National Museum of American History, which is part of the Smithsonian Institution. But longer term, I have more interest in sort of like education policy, and I'm very interested in educational equity, and doing like policy analysis and research from like the academia end. So inshallah, like one day I want to be a professor and study that. Yeah, my fun fact, I am the co-president of Yale Club Archery. I've been doing archery for 8 years, but like very non-competitively. But yeah, it's a really good community. And yeah, I love club archery. Yeah. Next slide. Okay, my experience. I am the youngest person on the panel. I have like the least of a career so far, but this is what I have. In 2023, I graduated high school, and alhamdulillah, I started at Yale. I applied to 17 different schools and I got into 5. And I think like I've been in the college application process most recently. So if anybody has questions about that, I would love to answer. I can get into that. But yeah. And then I initially came into Yale very interested in refugee policy. I wanted to do policy research and stuff, but like more on like the immigration, migration, and like refugee resettlement end. That's sort of changed since I came to Yale. I think, I guess I'll talk about, I guess coming into Yale, I applied to like a lot of different jobs because I wanted to make money. And I applied to a lot of jobs that honestly I didn't really have the credentials for, which but okay, but basically my story is I applied to a job at the Yale Peabody Museum, which is actually a natural history museum. So I applied to like do some like microscope imaging stuff that I didn't know how to do. But the supervisors reached out and they offered me like a job doing historical research, which is something much more up my lane. And I'm researching like the history of woman in science at the Peabody Museum, which was really cool. And that sort of sparked my interest in museums, which is something that I am exploring this summer at the Smithsonian National Museum of American History. I'm working in the education department, so doing a lot of like visitor experience stuff, and trying to really engage people in history. I really love like the idea of like public history, and yeah, just like getting people thinking critically about like who you are and what you're capable of, and how that fits into like broader narratives. And then yeah, I guess more long-term wise, I do love museums, but after lots and lots of reflection, I think I am still more interested in policy. So yeah, I guess 2024, I took an education studies class. I really, really liked it. And I declared an education studies minor later that year. So yeah, now I'm like trying to do a lot more like education related stuff, including like volunteering at a local school. And yeah, long term, that is more what I want to go into, but I've honestly like barely scratched that at this point in time. But alhamdulillah, like, yeah, I'm grateful for all of that. And I can talk more about anything, but that's my spiel for now.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It sounds very interesting. Moving on to our last speaker, Pierre.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm 22 years old. I just recently graduated from San Francisco State University. I majored in computer science with a double minor in economics and data science. And my career path currently is software engineer. So I previously interned as a software engineer at GitHub. I founded a Airbnb management company called Bloom Cleaning LLC. And currently I'm building Kakilima, which is a platform for home chefs. And my fun fact is in high school, I was the snack plug. So I was the guy that was like selling chips and like drinks and Capri Suns and whatnot. And the really cool thing is like just before COVID, at the peak, I had 3 employees. We had 20 varieties of different snacks, and I accepted all forms of payment, such as cash, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, credit card, and crypto. So it was quite the experience. Um, so entering into college, at first I wasn't sure if I wanted to do computer science. Like in my middle school and high school, I did a bunch of like robotics and rocketry, so I thought maybe I would lean more towards like the engineering side. And I'm not gonna lie, when college started, I was like, whoa, that's too much math. So I switched to CS. And I also just like looked at salaries, not gonna lie to you. And I was like, okay, like, let me try this. And ever since then, I've like loved computer science. So my first year into SF State, I didn't have that much technical skills, but I was okay at designing things. And I just remember being stuck in line at the financial aid office. I ended up talking with one of the guys working at the financial aid office, and they gave me a gig to design the financial aid page for SFSU. So if you go on SFSU and you look at the financial aid page, your boy designed it. In 2022, it was kind of like there's a reason why 2022 is in there. So 2022 wasn't my most productive year. I spent a lot of time kind of just like still trying to gauge, what exactly do I want to do? Like, what different routes do I want to explore? And so 2023 became the year where I quote unquote locked in. 2023, I picked up a role as a data scientist at the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. There, I researched the effects of power outages and heat waves. And I even presented that research in front of national labs. Later that year, I did an open source contribution to this company called Codeday. And so I improved their APIs for about 10,000 users. And I did a hackathon in Stanford where my team won second place. We built kind of like the skin cancer detection application. It was pretty rough, but it worked out, alhamdulillah. And then so 2024, I wanted to take this year as a time to kind of explore, outside of my own comfort zone. And so I did a lot of job applications, I think like maybe 300, and I didn't get my I didn't end up getting an offer until a week or 2 weeks before the end of school. So I remember it was like my summer of 2024. I was guaranteed knowing I'm going back home. And then I get the message. It's like, hey, we wanted to offer you an internship at GitHub. And so alhamdulillah, I took it right away, rushed to find an apartment, everything like that to stay in San Francisco. And alhamdulillah, it worked out. And so after that internship, I went straight to South Korea to study abroad. I studied abroad from like August all the way to the end of last year, December, and then I came back home to that. 2025, I graduated from San Francisco State University, currently in the job applications. And next month, actually in August, inshallah, I'll be researching power outages at the Q Center. It's one of the national Argonne National Laboratories in Chicago, or just a little outside of Chicago. And I've currently started working on a startup called Kakilima, which basically you can think of it as if you can turn your own kitchen into a restaurant. It's one of the applications that allows for you to sell out of your house. And so that's my story.
This is just like an ending thing if you guys want to connect with any of our panelists or you have any other questions that you want to reach out to them privately and ask. They have Instagram, LinkedIn, and we've also put in their emails. And don't forget to check out IMSA Youth on Instagram. We have a website and also email us if you have any other questions or anything else related to this that you may not be able to ask in this session. Zahira?
Thank you, Rania. So the next thing in our agenda is the time for a Q&A, which will gather questions from the Google form or the Zoom chat. So audience members, feel free to ask any questions about college, career, academics, and if you have a question for a specific panelist, please specify.
We also have some questions that we got from a Google form that we sent out earlier before the session. So there are some that we can ask right now. I'm pulling them up. So, okay, this question is actually for Pierre. And the question is, what did you do to stand out against other CS majors and land a software engineering job?
So there's actually a lot of tricks to it. So, you can first just like, bum rush through a whole bunch of cold applications, right? But the second is also kind of networking. I think networking really is huge. Like you have to be able to put yourself out there and just say the first like, hello, hi, my name is such and such, and I'm interested about such and such. Because, a lot of people are doing the exact same strategy you are, just putting in applications. So just that small thing of just reaching out to people and then kind of learning their experiences, that can help. And also the third thing is to not be so confined in having a specific role. So especially like for me, like as a software engineer, you can ask a lot of CS majors like their dream jobs and they'll tell you, oh, hey, I want to work at Google, I want to work at Tesla, I want to work at X and such and so. But they'll never say like, oh, like I'll take a software engineering job or like an IT specialist at a public library, right? And so it becomes like a balance of like, pride and ego and just being able to kind of like figure out, like where can I fit in and where can I really gain some experience and traction. And also the second thing or third thing, I guess, is to kind of build experiences where you can. So if your school has a club that has something to do with coding, interview prep, something like that, just try to get your hands on it and try it out. And also be open to different resources that your school may offer or neighboring schools. So when I was at San Francisco State, the nice thing about it is that although it wasn't as prestigious as UC Berkeley or Stanford, because I was located in between them, I went to a lot of the hackathons between the schools, took part in a lot of like the startup incubators at both campuses, and took the time to network between the schools. So you never know, like you can just reach outside of your own like bubble and you never know what you can get from there.
Thank you, Pierre. That was really insightful of stepping out of your comfort zone. Another question I have for all of you guys is how do college prepare students for their careers?
Anyone could answer this question, by the way.
Yeah.
I could go first. So I studied bioengineering, and my role does not really involve anything that I studied in school. And for me, I think it gave me a lot of critical thinking skills and a way to problem solve, because engineering, it really focuses on if you have all this information, how do you fix it, right? Like there's no straight solution anywhere. So it gives you the ability to figure out where to go. And a lot of my role as a product manager is seeing the features that users want and understanding, is this what they actually want, or is there a different underlying problem, and being able to solve that instead.
Yeah, I could backpack on that. I would say that when I started my role at Coke, I had no experience, guys. Letting you, I was working at an Indonesian restaurant in Kansas City, trying to get some money. And when I realized when I got into Coke, I'm like, how can I stand out? And in my interview process, I was like, how am I going to get into this huge company? They're the second largest private company in the world. I had my resume was saying that like I showed them that I could become a good employee because I told them like when I was playing soccer in Johnson County, um, got a full ride offer from a walk on to a full time internship. I mean not internship, full time I don't have to pay for school. But yeah, so I showed them in my resume that I can become a good employee and learn from that. And I realized that school didn't really like you don't really learn from like bring what you have from your experience from school to work because it's a lot of different processes and stuff, but it works on your critical thinking and yeah.
One thing that I can add on from that actually is my biggest takeaway when it comes to like school is that like, whatever like degree that you end up pursuing or whatever degree or certification that you end up getting, like the beauty of it is that, um, that moment where you get like your degree or your diploma at the end, it shows that you were able to start something and finish it. And I think that if you really carry on that like lifestyle and thinking into anything, like whether it's in the professional field or just like in your family relations or whatnot, just being able to start a project and finish it is such a big thing. Because like, even like in the professional life, like you can be given a project and it's like, this is not really working out. Like, okay, let's just go on to the next project. But, kind of just going through those lows, because you'll eventually have your lows, you'll eventually have your highs. Maybe you'll do really good on your exams in the beginning of the semester, but like mid-semester, all of a sudden you have all this late work, all these deadlines you need to make. And it's like, okay, everything looks terrible right now, right? But as long as you have, like faith in Allah and just kind of just lock in a way and just know, where you can put yourself in and just, I guess, finish what you started, it teaches a lot. And I think that was one of my growing experiences.
Yeah, I don't know if I have much to add, but I would definitely like, I agree that college, I'm halfway through college, like, how do I know? But I'm halfway through college. I feel like, I think it does build like critical thinking skills. I feel like you learn how to think better, you learn how to write better. I feel like writing is like a really important skill um, that I feel college helps you build a lot. And I think also, yeah, like connections and like knowing people, even like, yeah, like knowing professors oftentimes. I think I want to go into academia, so I feel like maybe that's more valuable, but professors often know people in industry and like, there's lots of connections to be made, even like among your peers too. Um, which I think, yeah, networking.
Going
Yeah.
off of what some of you guys, oh, sorry, did you want to go
Yeah,
on?
I was about to say like the power of networking is so powerful because it can lead you to like somewhere you're not qualified for. That's all I did in college was network, 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 and then I got placed in like places that I never thought I was gonna be at. So yeah.
I could add one more thing on top of that. The other thing I think college really helped me with was my communication skills. When I was applying to jobs, I was applying to a lot of jobs that I was not qualified for, kind of like what Biruni was saying earlier. But I would always ask for feedback in my interviews if I didn't get the role. And one thing they would tell me that I did really well was being able to communicate concepts, whether they were technical to a commercial facing team or technical concepts to a technical team. So being able to stand out with clear communication will make you like 10 times better than anybody who's really good at their job but can't tell you what they're doing.
Going off of what some of you guys said earlier, which is all really great information, and thank you so much for providing your insight. As we all are going into like this new college application season, or some people who may be still in college and not really sure of their career path, how did you guys personally handle rejection or redirection in your journeys?
I can start with this one. I would say that I realized that with rejection and failure, I realized that that is not meant for me. I see that God is telling me that, oh, there's something better. If you just put your heart out and try your best, make dua, have faith that God has your back, and it doesn't work out for you, that means that it's just not meant for you and He has something better for you. Because my whole life, I thought I was going to become a soccer player. And I thought when I lost the opportunity, it was like, I've been working my whole life to get this pro contract. What am I going to do? I'm lost. But I realized that me coming back, focusing on this was the right decision because this was the way that God wanted me to be at, where they wanted me at. And every past experience I've been through was just building me up to where I need to be at. So, yeah.
I think I can take this on pretty well. Like, I mean, I'm facing rejection to this day. I think, rejection is kind of something that constant happens. But like, for example, when it comes to like job applications, like, I guess it would be like really nice if you got like a yes on the first like attempt. But I think no's are just kind of like that natural, like it's bound to happen. So what we can do is learn from it, learn from what we did wrong and kind of use those as like steps to like move us forward. And I think, like handling rejections is also really important because it's, as you said, like redirection in a way. Being able to know that, okay, like, I didn't get this role, but okay, maybe I can pivot towards this role, or maybe this role is not exactly fit for me, but I can do this next role that's similar and something that's more aligned with my skill set.
When it comes to rejection, I feel like I've experienced it a lot, both through in the past 4 years. Even when I was applying to college, I also applied to 17 schools. And when I didn't get into schools that I thought were my dream schools with my dream programs, I cried for like days on end. I was like, all my work has been for nothing. And I went to the University of Pennsylvania, but I was actually waitlisted from there originally and was planning to go to Rice in Houston for up until like June after I graduated from high school. And when I finally got in, I was like, now I don't know, like, is this going to be the right decision? And I went and it was better than I could have ever imagined. And when I was applying to jobs, I thought I really wanted to go into mechanical design or working at a hospital or something like that. And I started applying to jobs in August of 2023. So that's the August as my senior year was starting. And I interviewed throughout the entire year and didn't get any offer until October after I graduated. And I remember I had moved back home at the time and I was like making dua every night. I was saying, I want X amount of money. I want to live in New York City. I want to do like all these things. I want to be happy and I want to make an impact. And every time that I didn't get a job, 85% of the time it didn't meet what I wanted, but I was still devastated because all I wanted to hear was yes. And now, like, alhamdulillah, I'm living in New York and I get to do something where I feel like I'm making a really big impact at the company and I'm valued. And so it really is just like everybody else was saying, redirection and being faced with what might not be for you and having it work out.
And I could like backpack off that. It's just that I started the Al Medina Club. So this is our first year we started, and we knew that there's two clubs that run basically monopoly in Wichita, Kansas. So we had nothing. It was just five guys, three guys that are like 22 years old. We just cold applied. Like we needed money to start a business. You need money. You need funding, and we don't want to get a loan because we want to do the halal way. So with the barca, like with God, alhamdulillah, and we want to do the right way, and you have the right intention. God gave us investors. Alhamdulillah, I had to go pitch it out, and yeah, got a lot of rejections. And our name is like a shameless plug, but like Al Medina Wichita Football Club. So like we purposely made it Al Medina Wichita Football Club. So when the people know like what is Islam and if they look into the club, like what is it? And this year we finished like third in our conference. People were shocked, and they're like shocked. How is this? We're like the youngest like ownership group in the United States for UPSL for fourth division league. Like how are they? How can they? What are they doing to transform this league? And we got a lot of good sponsorship, a lot of companies in the United States, and we landed like a True Socks company. This is the largest grip socks for soccer players and anything in for our company. And people are just like, how are they doing this? It's because that we know it's a first year club. We know we're gonna make mistakes, but we can learn from these mistakes and keep continuing. And rejection always happen. We went through thousands of companies. They don't believe in the vision, but God always, if they want you to invest in us, we got it. And alhamdulillah, it was just a good process with handling rejection. And but at the end of the light, at the end of the tunnel, there's a light. So, and then hopefully now we're planning on building like a youth club team. So people that are not like that can't afford playing soccer, they could play it and hopefully give these kids that can't afford playing soccer a platform for the future. So
Yeah, I just want to, again, I don't have all that much to add because everyone said really great things. But yes, as everyone was saying, I think, yeah, you do need to trust in Allah. And like, obviously, like, he's the best of planners, and his plan is like much grander and like much better than you can like even like understand. So, yeah, and then I think there's like a quote, and I don't, sometimes it's attributed to like Ali radiallahu anhu, but I don't think it's actually from him. It's, yeah, but it's, what is it? Oh, what was meant for you will never miss you, and what misses you is never meant for you. Which honestly, that just brings me a lot of peace sometimes, when I do get rejections, which is often. Um, but yeah, like, it just builds character, and it makes it like more satisfying, I feel, when you do get a yes. Alhamdulillah, yeah.
Alhamdulillah, thank you all for sharing. That was really insightful. I have another question. What advice or tips would you give to a current college student to make the most of their experience?
I think it goes back to networking. Really like branch out, like for example, like talk to your professors. Let's say there's a class that's remotely interesting, like it doesn't have to be completely interesting to you, but just like you find some interest in it. Talk to your professor, ask them if they know about different opportunities regarding that class or regarding your degree. And you never know what type of like opportunities they have. So this actually reminds me, in 2022, that was the year where I really didn't do much. And I spoke to one of my professors, or I don't know if I even spoke to my professor, but my professor just happened to email me and they were like, hey, there's this, I guess, scholarship opportunity opening up the following year called the Gen Pink program. I didn't know what that was, but I just thought that there was money involved and so I applied for it. And so what it was like an opportunity where I could take on an additional minor, which was data science with an emphasis in biotechnology. And I ended up taking that class, and alhamdulillah, that gave me opportunities to do my research in 2023. It gave me an opportunity to get some additional funding for my school, and it allowed for me to have something interesting to talk about during my interviews at GitHub. So I think it's kind of like those small like things that seem minuscule at first, like it seems kind of pointless and maybe a waste of time. But hey, I think you should take as many side quests as you can and network as much as you can. That's my biggest like advice.
yeah, I agree. I would say that do as much side quests, meet as much people, network, because if you have someone inside the company, they would 100% and they would refer you, you would get into a pool where you might get selected. So the way I got my job is the funniest way possible. I would let you guys know. I was coming out of I think it was a calc class. I forgot it was the business like a job fair because I heard some music on the left side on my left ear. I found out I was like, oh, there's a job fair. I forgot. I was like, no. And I was like, you know what? Let me just look, check it out. I went to the job fair and I was just looking around. I was like, you know what? I have no experience, no nothing. So let me just go for like a small accounting firm or like a small financial firm and I could like build up my resume. But God has his plans. So, and when I was walking in, I realized I accidentally ran into a guy I knew. And he was like, I did not know what Coke was. I did not know nothing. And he was like, you should, Basil, like you're pretty nice. You seem like you have like doing well in school and you have a creative mind and you're like entrepreneurial side too. I think you will fit at Coke Industries. I was like, bro, no. I was like, I have no experience. I worked at an Indonesian restaurant in Kansas City. But he said, no, trust me, just apply and I got you. I was like, okay. Mind you, I forgot to apply. I forgot to apply, and he had to text me a couple of weeks. He's like, bro, did you apply? I was like, yeah, I got you. I applied that day. And then I got the interview for like a business supply chain role. I did my interview. I was in the waiting room. I was talking to my competition because I saw the guy next to me. And he was like, yeah, I have like 2 years of experience. I'm like, oh, okay. This is not going to go well. And then I went to my interview. I was like being myself. I was giving them the idea that I have no experience, but I gave him traits that I would become a good worker. And unfortunately, I didn't get the role, but the guy that was interviewing me referred me to another position, and that's the position I got into. So it all started off me forgetting that it was a job fair to getting me the job. So because of the power of networking. So yeah.
I think my advice would be to, if you're not sure what you want to do when you're in college, at least figure out what you don't want to do, because there's nothing worse than getting a job and then realizing that you actually hate this type of work. When I was in high school, I thought I was going to go into CS and I did a data science internship. And I was like, I cannot be sitting 40 hours a week coding all day. Like I'm a very hands-on learner and that was not for me. And I would also say, do as many things like that you can just to like gain experience in different fields and be able to have more of an interdisciplinary approach, because I think you shouldn't be putting yourself in like one box. Like you're like, I'm studying this science and now everything I do is only going to be related to it. I think a lot of employers really value like having the left side, right side of the brain being able to work together, like with a creative side and a more analytical side. And also, like I said, just like don't make everything about your major or what your future job is going to be. I think you should have a very healthy like social life and school life balance, or else you will totally just like not enjoy college. And I feel like if there's anywhere you are going to be around the most people your age who are all trying to like get the same things, it's also kind of falls into networking. Like your peers in college are going to be people who are like leaders at companies in 10 years. So being friends with them is going to help you in the long run as well.
Honestly, I think I kind of forgot the original question, but one thing I did want to bring up is like burnout. Like burnout is actually so real because I actually remember like, there's been a couple bouts during school where like total burnout just hit, where I was just like, dang, like is this even worth it anymore? Like, you're halfway through the semester and you're like, dang, like, okay, like, what can I do to just finish off with a B? Or like, what can I do to just get this grade? Like, you're not even thinking about like, doing your best. It's just like, oh, what can I do to just make ends meet? And so that's actually really, like, it's very real. And I think that like, things that can help with like burnout is like having a good like supportive network, just like having friends that may have the same class as you or have friends that have the same interests as you, like maybe it's basketball, soccer, or something like that, where you can kind of balance out of, you know, doing work and then not doing work, right? Because, rest is also really important. And so kind of building that like supportive network that can help you with burnout, I think it's also like some good advice I could give.
Along with that, when it comes to like grades, I think it's important to remember that like grades won't aren't everything in school as well. Like people will look at experience a lot higher or at the same level at least as like a 4.0 GPA. But if you have a 4.0 GPA and you have nothing to show for it, no proof that you can actually do the work in the real world, it's going to be a lot harder once you get to that point. And when it comes to like getting experience, I would say even just little things like a part-time job, like that really can help build your portfolio or show that you are able to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I would say that any experience matters. You work part-time jobs, waiters, there's skills that you could put on your resume to show them. It's like, okay, if you become a waiter, you're good at multitasking. You're getting get food, you're getting what's it called? Orders. So you could put that on your resume. I was a waiter at an Indonesian restaurant. I told them I was a master accountant and I was the trash man. So I was like, I was doing everything because it's a brand new company, and I was creating value for the company for the small Indonesian restaurant to hopefully make profits, get gains. And I just want to backpack off like Pierre's point. Having a support system is so important. The people you are around is what you're gonna be like. I would say, alhamdulillah, I have a good friend here in Wichita, Kansas. I know Wichita, Kansas is crazy, but it's a real place. But alhamdulillah, I have a good supporting cast that anything bad happens, I could go back to them. Anytime I'm burnt out, just play basketball or soccer or pickleball. And and they're on the same wavelength too. A lot of my friends, they want to go to medical school. They are starting their jobs, but we spent time together. So when we want to like have a break, we could just get together, have fun, relax, and then go back to work. So, so having a support system is so important and can make or break a lot of stuff in your career.
Yeah,
I
I
had a
have
question for, oh, sorry, you can
Sorry,
go.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, but I
That's
had a few
okay.
things, yes, I wanted to touch on. A lot of it is like echoing previous stuff, but yeah, I think I feel like college is like such a unique environment in which there is like exploration is very much both like academic, extracurricular, like even like socially, just like trying like so many different things. Um I'm a big fan of like I very much encourage like exploring lots of different like classes, like whatever seems interesting to you, to like the extent that's like reasonable for like requirements and stuff. But like if a class looks interesting, like I took what did I take? Oh, I took a gamelan class because I was like, oh, they have gamelan here. So I took a gamelan class. I took like last semester I took like Islamic painting class, like I was painting like little flowers and stuff. Yeah, but it's a good time and yeah. Um Definitely like take different things that are interesting to you. Again, yeah, don't focus everything around like your major or like your perceived end goal because also that's very much not static and it will change presumably over the course of your time in college. Yeah, and then I am also a fan of like um exploring extracurricular wise. I feel like I was very much like my first semester, I was attending like so many like interest meetings for different clubs. And like definitely my first year, I think I did a bit too much. Like I was trying to be like in every extracurricular. But like I think first year is a good time when it's a bit more chill. Like join a lot of different clubs because I think those are like really good communities. You can meet actually some clubs are not good communities and that's why you leave them. But like there's like a different there's there's lots of different like people out there that you can meet. Yeah, and again, those will be connections like 10 years, 20 years down the line. Um, and then yeah, I think I would also say um I I do like LinkedIn. I like using LinkedIn. I like following like companies that I'm interested in because like they'll post stuff like internship opportunities and what was I gonna say? Oh, I think also like keep you should keep an eye out for like opportunities specific to like certain affinity groups, like for example like being Muslim. I think I'm more interested in like public service and I feel like there's a lot of like Muslim geared I guess like fellowships and like opportunities in public service. I know of like quite a few like organizations that have like Capitol Hill like internship and like cohorts and stuff for like young Muslims. So I think that's definitely something to keep in mind is like, oh, like what identities do I belong to? Like for example, also like me being half an applied math major, I'm like a woman in STEM. So like what what like woman in STEM like scholarships and like other stuff can I like take advantage of? Not take it, but yeah, take advantage of. And how like how can that forward my career and like forward my like learning journey and all that. Um, so yeah, I think that's what I have to contribute.
Thank you guys so much for giving your insight. Peterni, I actually had a question for you. So, since you are still in college and you've been freshly through the college application process, I know a lot of people here are like rising juniors, seniors, and they're really interested in like learning more about that process. So, do you have any tips about how to apply to colleges or like any extracurriculars or programs that are good, especially to get into like such a prestigious school such as Yale, or for those who don't even know what they want to do? I know you guys touched on that, but if you're like a junior or senior and you don't know what to do or what you want to go into, how would you navigate the college application process?
Okay. How would I navigate the college application process? Um, I think one thing is more on like a practical note, but definitely make a spreadsheet of like every college that you're applying to and like what specific essays you need to write and what like sometimes they require a writing sample and like all of that. It just helps keep things organized because yeah, I know some people don't do that, but I could never do that. I think it's good to have it all laid out. That's not really what the question was getting at though. Um, I think navigating applying to college. Yeah, I would say mm, I guess the advice that I usually give people, I think it's like very trite, very like cliche, but like you should obviously like be yourself. Like I don't think there's any point in like applying to a college as like somebody other than like who you are. Like that's just like stupid. Like I I think you need to be very honest to yourself. I feel like over the course of like my college application process, I feel like I was actually able to reflect a lot on like, oh, who am I and like what is important to me. I think a lot of crafting an application is like you're just trying to like put yourself on a paper and like show the admissions office what yeah, like what value do I bring to the school? How would I fit into this like cohort that you're bringing in? Um and yeah, I would say definitely like be yourself, but so I think that comes with like recognizing your weaknesses and recognizing your strengths. Um, but I think you also definitely want to put forth the best version of yourself. So you should be honest about like I think what yeah, maybe some like weaknesses or like points of weakness that you've had in the past, but like definitely like show growth from that. I think growth is an important thing to show in your application too. Just like, oh, um, yeah, show that however that may look like for you. Like for me, I guess I was like very, very like reserved for like most of my life. And then I sort of like stepped out of my shell in high school. So, I could write a lot of essays about like, oh, like how this experience, like, oh, I did like a poetry recitation competition. So like how did that help me like grow? How did that help me like step out of my comfort zone? And that shows that I do have potential for like growth and like I can continue to grow. Like for me, it was like I can continue to grow at Yale. And also how will I contribute to Yale? Um, I think definitely most schools, well, not most schools, a lot of schools will have a question that is like, oh, um, why Yale or like why UPenn? Like why do you want to come to this school? I would say like do make sure you do like a little bit of research on that because sometimes people write very generic stuff. And you want to like show the admissions officers that you actually do have an interest in their institution because it just it's a good it's good to like signal um that I guess that you've put in the work and that they should take your application seriously. So yeah, like seeing what programs they have, what like interesting clubs they may have, like rather than just being like, oh, and the campus is so pretty. And I love math. I love math, but I can study math anywhere. Why do I want to study at Yale, you know? Um, let's see. I think I think there's a lot of like information you can find online. If I would say like there's a subreddit called Applying to College that you can look at. And it's like low-key toxic if you spend too much time on it. But sometimes like if you have like a question or like I feel like you can stay pretty up to date on like timelines just by like being on that subreddit. But like don't take it too seriously because it's never that serious. But yeah, and also like and at the end of the day, make dua, trust Allah. Yeah, I feel like that's most of my advice. And I'm happy to expand on that if necessary.
I just wanted to like just a little bit of like a piggyback on that. Are there any specific like extracurriculars or things that colleges are looking for? Maybe it's like clubs or things that make you stand out on application.
I would say there is no like one specific like extracurricular that if you're in this like you're gonna get in. It's more of like demonstrating that you do have interests, you do have passions, um, and yeah, like demonstrated commitments to things. I think like maybe I guess like having like if you have your application like an extracurricular that you were in for like all 4 years of high school, like maybe that's like robotics or I guess like newspaper or something like that, showing and also it's good if like there you can see like a progression of like oh like and then I became editor-in-chief in my senior year. Like that's I think that's good to show that you have that you that again the idea of like being able to like complete a project, being committed and being able to stick something out. I think that's something that colleges like and yeah, also just generally being able to demonstrate on your application like through your essays and like um through like any interviews if you do have interviews, being able to demonstrate that this is that you're not just doing things like, oh, like for the resume, for the application, and that you do have like genuine interest in like the impact of your work. Yeah.
I kind of wanted to piggyback off of Bruni. So like, it's been a while since my college applications, but I do remember something that like, kind of like looking back, something that I didn't really work on until college was being an effective communicator. And I think even right now, like I'm still work in progress, but I think that's one thing that you like is really worth working on like throughout life, no matter what, like where you are. But just being able to effectively communicate, what you did, how it changed you, why did you do it, and like, what was the purpose? Because, like in high school, I did a lot of like different extracurriculars. And I think that like looking back on it, I could have been a better effective communicator on why I did X, Y, and Z and what impacts that I do. And so I think that's one big thing when it comes to also navigating it is just being able to find your voice and communicating through your applications.
Yeah. And along with extracurriculars and stuff, I think it's important to remember that colleges are looking to build out a well-rounded class. They don't need like 1,000 well-rounded people. So you don't need to be like a jack of all trades, but if you can specify like this is like why I've done all this like volunteer work that is associated with like all these STEM activities because this is what I'm passionate about, like showing that you really care about what you do and being able to make them see you as human throughout their entire application. So if you're telling them like, these are the clubs I want to join, like I want to join this pen dance club and I want to study under this professor in their research lab because it's excited me in this way, it lets them be able to envision you at the school rather than just one other person who just wants to go there.
Thank you guys for sharing. We do have one last question, but for the interest of time, if we could have 1 to 2 panelists answer this, that would be great. So the question from this person is from Jakarta, Indonesia. They graduated with a degree in nutrition, but they're still exploring career paths outside of their major, like data analysis, digital marketing, and administration. So while they're currently exploring career options, what kind of activities or program would you recommend to fill their time productively and build their skills?
I think continuing to work on personal projects to, if you're interested in digital marketing, build out like what your portfolio would look like if you were in a role. You can always find like case studies online for problems that people at a company would want you to solve and show them this is the problem I was attacking and this is how I would do it. That way, once you do land an interview or are putting your thing out, you have like, what your work would look like so they can get a better idea. And yeah.
If one more panelist could answer that question, that would be great.
Sorry, what was the question again?
Um, the person is still exploring like career options. So, like, what advice would you give for like the kind of activities or programs to fill their time productively and build their skills?
I know it actually may not seem too conventional, but I'm really big on like leveraging AI. So I would actually, go on chat and list out, different passions you have, hobbies you have, different skill sets you have, things that you have an affinity towards, and kind of ask chat to kind of list out different career opportunities. After you list out the career opportunities, you can maybe choose, five, maybe 10 maximum of just which ones do you want to really deep dive into, and then kind of learn about the different traits of that job, what are the different requirements. And that can kind of give you a gist of like, okay, maybe I want to explore this realm, or maybe this is a little bit more interesting than that. And So that's kind of helped me as well. Like in computer science, it's pretty broad. You know, it can go everything from video game development to building AI models and whatnot. And so I think being able to kind of narrow down, you know, some things that you might find interesting, it can kind of help you out on your selecting process. And I recommend using AI to kind of get that first batch of things to look at.
Right, I think that's all the time we have for questions right now, but there are still a few things left, so don't leave yet. I think we well, we wanted to just ask you guys, like all the panelists, if they have any closing advice, and then after that, we'll give everybody an opportunity to network with the panelists after we close. So if you're in this call and you're interested in talking to any of these panelists one-on-one, stay with us, and then I think we're going to put you into breakout rooms, and then you'll be able to actually talk with the speakers one-on-one. But right now, I just wanted to ask all the speakers if you had any closing advice or final things to say before we make the closing dua.
I could finish it off maybe. Be curious, keep learning, keep discovering, see what you're passionate about, see what you could do, see what you want to do. And it's a long life. Do you want to do this your whole life, 40 years? Just keep exploring, keep doing, and yeah, try to figure it out. Do a self audit on yourself. I would say like, what are you good at? What do you want to do? So, but most importantly, just keep learning and keep discovering what you're good. Like, think of yourself. Yeah.
Can I throw in a quick closing remark as well, actually? So I actually have two things, but the first thing is that kind of backpacking off of phase is you're the average of the five people you spend the most time with. So if you surround yourself with highly motivated individuals who are just, you know, interested in life, then you naturally will become like that. If you spend your time around people who are, you know, not really motivated, don't really want to do X, Y, and Z, then you'll ever so slightly kind of pick up those traits. So surround yourself with, you know, like-minded individuals, people that are going to push you, and that's going to be really important for your future. And my second thing that I was going to say, wait, actually scratch it, I forgot it. But average of the five people we spend them. Oh, wait, I remembered actually. Um, you don't always have to have the goal in mind, but have the steps in between, I think is really important. Because like, for example, like, let's say you're a long distance runner or a track runner, right? Everyone has the goal of, oh, I want to become the fastest guy on this track, or oh, I want to be the best doctor, or I want to be the best this, right? And everyone has the goals, but it's always the plans in between that kind of sets you apart. So kind of spending the time of, you know, figuring out your routine that helps you get to where you want to be, I think that's really important.
Yeah, I wanted to say, I think like on this topic of like, oh, career exploration, there's a lot of like really like evil careers out and like evil companies you could be working for that are like doing awful things. So like keep in mind like when you are exploring careers, that like honestly like the dunya is really short and you're gonna be spending a whole lot more time in the akhirah. So keep in mind like your morals and your values, and like don't sell out because I've seen it. Yeah.
I wanted to say that a lot of the time, especially if you're not doing like a traditional path that a lot of your friends in college are doing or a lot of people in your community are doing, people might doubt your like dreams or goals, or they might tell you it's unrealistic, but it's important to like keep that confidence in yourself that you can do it and that you know yourself better than anybody else. So
Thank you guys so much for saying that. I feel more confident in myself now. I just wanted to remind everybody else in the Zoom call that we do have another IMSA Youth event coming up, which is our Coast to Coast Social and Muktamar Trivia on July 30th. And you should stay tuned for more info. The Muktamar location did get released. If you aren't aware, it's in Atlanta. So go Atlanta. And yeah, please make sure to stay if you want to talk to any of our speakers or if you have any other questions. And we'll end with our closing dua.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. جزاك الله خير for all of our panelists. And yeah, audience members, if you want to stick around for 15 to 20 minutes to network, that would be great.
Thank you guys so much for joining.